Hey Nemesis, check out what I found in my world. What are these gem thingies? Ooh, look, I'm getting more. Woohoo! Okay. Today we're going to learn how to do that. We're going to create a gem pickup item, and whenever it picks up, it's going to display a number of how many we've picked up. Okay, I want to work first on the visual part of money, and then later we will work on how it works under the hood so that you can actually collect items that are like a money. So what I wanted to do first is decide on what are we going to use as our money item. I've found in the BTM assets, going to the prefabs folder, and look at all these different items that we can use for whatever we need it to be. And there's several things that could be like a money. There's obviously this coin looking thing. Let's see, down here there's a star coin. And then there's a whole bunch of gem type things and gold bars and looks like paper money. You really have a lot to choose from if you want to use this package. Very likely to find something that would work for you. Me personally, I like this ruby object. It looks like something that would make a good type of money symbol. So the pickups will look like this ruby. You have a counter that appears maybe up in the left hand corner, perhaps. It will show you how much you have, but so you remember what that number means, you also have this symbol appearing next to that number. We'll make that happen. I'm going to drag this ruby into the world. I'm going to actually split my game view and my scene view, split screen, so I can kind of see both of them at the same time. Make this a little bit higher, it's above the ground. Maybe it's too close to my character right now. Move it over here. It's actually quite large, so I'm going to scale it down to like a 0.5. As an object here, it has the mesh filter, mesh renderer, and this special animation that I'm going to get rid of because my item script has its own animation and it's much simpler. Okay, so we have this thing, and I'm going to add my touch pickup. We've got our touch pickup script added, and we need to make some changes. So the enter effect amount, I think whenever we pick up one of these crystals or rubies or whatever you want to call them, they should just count as one money. And then we do want to destroy after enter so that we can't just keep picking up the same one. And for the effect type, we're going to choose, and I've already added this to my lists, but we're going to choose gems. I'll show you where I add that later. Right now, we can see it animate. There it is. It's a kind of a cool looking gem, and it rotates. Now, in the game view, we want to see how many gems we already have, regardless of whether or not we're picking up that one. So what I'm going to do is create another one in my prefabs folder. Go to the pickups, and I'm going to drag this into there. Call it an original prefab, so it's its own thing. And as you can see, I've already done this in the past just for testing to make sure everything works. But we will work with this one for now, and we're going to call it Ruby Pickup. And from here, we can drag it back into the world and make any number of additional items. Drag it one time, and I'm going to rename it to Gem Symbol. Then I'm going to do something weird. Let's go back to the scene view, full screen. I'm going to kind of back up, clicking on the red arrow. I'm going to drag it as far as I can off into the distance. You might be wondering why in the world, but you will soon find out. Okay, so finally I've got it in a position where it's outside the world. Nothing of the world that I've added to this scene, nothing is in the way. And then I'm going to add another object, and it's going to be a camera. And this is, I'm going to call this the gem camera. I'm going to get closer to the gem symbol. I go find my gem camera. Where is the gem camera? Moving the camera close to where the gem is. The gem symbol, Y position, is 91. Oh, we'll just say 90. And I'm going to set the same Y position for the gem camera. I'm going to make its Z position the same as both the camera and the symbol. 200. Seems like a good difference. The X position is going to be, just copy that, and copy them the same, actually in the exact same position, but I want the camera to be back a little bit from the object it is looking at. And so now that is more like what I was hoping to see. It's got looking at the gem, it's front and center right in the middle of the view. In the game view, because we have two cameras, it doesn't know which one is the right camera. So it just picked this one. And so now that's what we're looking at. Now, when we create a camera, it has an audio listener by default. And that's another thing that's going to cause a problem with our game as it is it's going to be hearing, or it's going to be trying to hear whatever is going on in the game, but we'll have our main camera that's in, basically it's in this object. Here's the main camera. This one is going to be the one we want to appear for the game. And we want the sounds to be coming from where that camera is. So we want this camera to not have an audio listener. So I'm going to remove this component. If you don't, you'll get all kinds of errors. Now, if we click play, we see this cool animation, and that's awesome, but that's all we can see in the game, and so that's not what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and stop. We want our regular game to look pretty much the way it did before. We want the symbol rotating and everything to appear in the top left corner. Now, I realize I'm making this a little bit more complicated than it would need to be. You could just go find a symbol, a two-dimensional image that we might find from one of these other asset packs, like the UI pack, icons, and you could find a symbol that would be useful to be used as representing money. But this is a skill that you might find useful in the future to be able to display a 3D object as part of your UI. So here's another thing I need to do. I'm going to right click, I'm going to create an empty, and this is just a empty object, and I'm going to make this, I'm going to call this the gem rotator, whatever, doesn't matter what I call it, I guess. And I want its position to be the same as the gem. Right click, transform of the gem symbol, copy the position, and then go to the gem rotator, right click the transform, paste position. Then I'm going to take both the gem symbol and the gem camera, put them inside the gem rotator. Then I'm going to go to the rotator, and I'm going to rotate, because in this view, you see this little, there's something here you can see. That is like the edge of the ocean. It's not very visible, but you don't want it to show up in your UI. So I'm going to rotate the gem rotator by 90 degrees. Now, I don't know if that's the right direction or not, but it must be, because I don't see the ocean anymore. Now let's see how it looks. We want it to still be looking pretty good. I don't know, the lighting isn't so great. So I'm going to go rotate it by -90. And now the lighting is much better. I still don't see the edge of the world or the ocean, so I think that'll work. Anyway, I have to do it when I'm not in play mode, so we'll -90. The lighting is good. Now to get this to appear in the UI and not as a replacement for the main camera. So when we go back to our prefabs, so in the prefabs, I'm just going to right click in an empty space and create a render texture. And it's just called new render texture. That's no big deal. It's fine. We do want the gem camera to, instead of rendering to the main screen display, to render to that texture. And so we're going to, on the gem camera output section, there is an output texture. So we're going to drag the new render texture to the output texture. And instantly, we are looking back at our slime character in the island, and it looks normal-ish. And you can also see what this render texture is seeing. Oh, one more thing we need to do with this render. We want to display what it shows up in the corner here. So in the canvas, we're going to expand the canvas. I'm going to right-click and add another UI raw image. Raw image is similar to image, but raw image has the ability to put a render texture on it. I'm going to left drag this render texture to the texture of this image. Boom. Now what the camera sees is in this little square. And like most 2D UI elements, we can position it by Alt-Shift, or click on the little gizmo, Alt-Shift, and then move it where we want it. Now, that's a good spot, I think, good size, position. But what I don't like is it shows the world background, this horizon and the sky and stuff. So that's not really what I'm looking for. But to fix that, we need to modify the gem camera again. The gem camera, in the environment section of the gem camera, there is a background type, and it's currently set to Skybox. That is what that blue and gray that we're seeing in the background is called a Skybox. You might learn more about Skyboxes later, but for this particular purpose, we don't want the Skybox. We could pick a solid color, or we could pick uninitialized. And as long as we don't actually choose a color, they're both about the same. Now we see the gem, but behind the gem, we don't see the sky. We just see whatever we would normally see with the regular camera. So let's just click play and see what that looks like. Here we go. We've got our little character moving around. The little gem is rotating in the corner, as is the real gem that's in the world that we can see. And while nothing is happening because we haven't set up the behind-the-scenes coding yet, we can see that if we were to collect that gem, it very closely corresponds to this gem. And we'd say, well, if we get that, we will get something over here. I'm going to click stop. But in addition to the symbol, we also want a number to appear as to how many gems that we've already collected. Also in the canvas, next to our raw image, I'm going to rename the raw image to gem symbol image. And I'll go ahead and add a UI TextMeshPro. And this is going to be the gem number. And I'm going to position it Alt-Shift to the left. Then I'm going to add the X position to something like 50. Nope, that's not enough. Maybe 80. So now this number will appear right next to the gem, and we can actually change it to a 0 here. I don't like just the plain white color, so I'm going to go pick something else, like kind of a orangey color. That looks good. I'm also going to make it bold. Maybe the font size could be a little bit bigger. I'd like it to be more centered vertically. So if I change it to, 46 probably. That looks about right to me, to my eye. Maybe it's not perfect, but we've got a a number here. And we can also do some stuff. We can make an outline. Our number, in fact, it already had an outline, a little black outline. We can make that line thicker, and we could make it white instead of black. It's better. Maybe make it not quite as thick since it's white. And there we go. We've got a number of how many gems we have displayed. Okay, so that is that. Now let's go to the code. Here is the code. This is my favorite part. Now the first thing I want to show you, our script that we already had, TouchPickup. We've got to make some changes to it. First change is we're adding the gems option in the effect type. So obviously healing and damage are effects that you could have. Getting gems is another one. The next piece that I added is a variable called PlayerManager. It comes from the character script, which we will modify later. Character is your player's representative in the game. Got this little character, in our case, the green slime. It could be any character, but there's a number of possibilities depending on the game. You might have multiple characters. In the course of the game, you go rescue another character. And then after you've rescued them, you can now play as that character. They're friends now, and so wherever you go in the game, they both go and you can switch back and forth between them. So if the money is attached to the character, then it might be a little bit awkward if you didn't have the correct character selected that had the money, or maybe both characters had money, but you didn't have enough in one character, but between the two of them they had enough. Any one of them. So, in my opinion, it's better if there's a chance that you will have multiple characters. It is better if the money is associated with the player rather than with each individual character. Or maybe you would call it like the save game. The character may be the one that collects items like coins and gems, as well as other pickups, but things like money are stored in a centralized location. The money type of resource is attached to the player, so that regardless of which character they're playing as, they have access to all of the money in one place. Let's imagine for a moment a scenario where you've got two kids, and one of them is named Emma. She is a 11-year-old girl. She is playing your game that you made. She is a fan. She loves this game. She has made quite a bit of progress, and she's saved her game, and she's enjoying it. And her little brother, Oliver, comes up, sees the game, and he says, "That is a cool game. I want to play too." And Emma's like, I don't mind. I am good at sharing. I am happy to let you play this game that I got, but I don't want you messing up my save game. I want you to start your own game. And Oliver's like, yeah, my game. So they're in agreement. Oliver doesn't really know what it means to start a new game, but he just wants to play this cool game that his sister was playing. So Emma says, okay, I got out of the game. At the main menu, you click New Game, and you don't click on my name. You type your name in here. And Oliver's like, can you do it for me? And Emma's like, oh, you don't know how to spell your name? Okay, I'll spell it for you. And she types Poopy Pants. Oliver knows that's not right, so he takes over and types his own name. Now, when Oliver starts playing, he's a little bit disappointed that he's on a different level, and he's playing maybe with a different character, and he hasn't even noticed that, he has no gems or coins, but he is just happy to be playing this cool game that you made. I told you this made-up story, just so that you can kind of get an idea of the reason why we might separate the player and the character. So before I really get too deep into the scripting, I want to rename what we previously called the player, green slime character. We're going to call it character, or maybe even call it player character, but not just player. So back to the code. We have a reference to a player manager, and we are getting the affected character that was the game object that touched this pickup item. The affected character becomes that character. And then we want to know who is the player controlling that character. Get the affected character dot player manager. Now, we haven't talked about player manager yet, but before that, I wanted to show you that in addition to adding gems as an effect type, we also need to handle the effect type. So in this switch case statement here, where we've got the effect types of heal, damage. We also need a case or gems, or whatever you want to call yours, but I called mine gems. And then we're going to say did it work equals player.getGems and enter effect amount. So this amount is going to be that 1 that I changed the effect amount to 1. We're looking at the Player Manager script. It uses TMPro, which is TextMeshPro, for the text, and Unity Engine for everything else. It's a class, and the name of the class is called Player Manager. That's what we were using as a type in the other script. And it is a mono behavior. I've got some audio-related variables. We got the audio source, the GetGem sound, the SpendGem sound, and the FailGem sound. The FailGem sound is for when you try to buy something, but you don't have enough gems. So now the next thing we got is a float, which is just a number, and it's the number of gems. So we're just going to call it gems. And then we have a TextMeshPro UGI gem text. This is the TextMeshPro object that displays the number. So it's the 0 that we have right now on the screen. And then here is our GetGems method. It is one of those where you have a bool, so you get to say did it work or not. Float amount. This is, you might recognize this is similar to our character where we have healing and damage. So it is not heal amount or damage amount, it's just amount. And then we're going to say when we get gems, we say gems plus equals the amount. And that's simple. We play our GetGem sound, and then we run a method called anyGemChange, whether it's increase or decrease. And then we return true. Now you might notice that we do not return false anywhere. And that's because I've just made the decision that anytime you touch a gem, you get it. There's no way that it can fail. You can't have a maximum number of gems. I suppose you've played games in the past where there is a maximum number of coins or whatever. You can only hold 99 coins at a time. You try to get 100th coin, it just doesn't work. But I'm not going to make my game that way. You can if you want. You can make a maximum limit, and you can set it up more like the healing in the character script, where you have a max health and you would have a max gems, but I'm not going to do that. The next method is our SpendGems. It's a little bit more complex because you do want to prevent spending more than you have. So after we say gems minus equals amount, we say if gems is less than 0, then we play the fail sound and we return false. This is the did it work false. This is just to tell the system that it failed, and so if it needs to do anything else different, you don't get the item that you purchased if you didn't have enough to purchase it. I realized something I've done wrong. We're going to say that after we subtract, if that's less than 0, we need to go back to what it was before. So we'll just say gems plus equals amount. And that will mean that when we spend more than we have, it doesn't work. But it also reverses that transaction and say we return false. Now, if it doesn't fail, then we play the SpendGem sound. We keep the change. This stuff in this if statement doesn't happen. And we say anyGemChange happened, and we return true. I suppose you're curious about the anyGemChange. And that is the last method in this script. anyGemChange, we've called it from either getting gems or spending gems. All it does is if the gems text exists, we're going to set the text of the gem text to the gems number, and the .toString converts the float to a text string like the number 1. I'm going to go back to the Unity editor. Now we made this script called Player Manager, but we don't have a Player Manager. I'm going to make one. I'm going to right click in the blank space here, and I'm going to create an empty. We're just going to call it Player Manager. Now, in the Player Manager, we need a component called Player Manager that we just made. There's Player Manager. Now, Player Manager has a few things we need to set. We need to pick the audio source. What I want to do is I'm going to add an audio source to the Player Manager. We'll say audio source. And audio source doesn't need any special settings. Now, because we were in the scene view and we were looking at this particular place in the scene, it placed the player manager right here. But that's not necessary. I would be fine if it was way off in the distance like our gem rotator is. So I'm just going to right click and get the position of that. I can put it over here. So now the player manager is way over there, but we're going to modify the player manager. We need to select the audio source so we can drag it from here right up into that. And then we also need to select a GetGem sound, a SpendGem sound, and a FailGem sound. So let's go ahead and click on the little target and see if we can find something. I've already figured out what sounds I like. These sounds are sounds that come from LewyT's sound effects, essential free sound effects, RPG. The GetGem sound, there's lots of different sounds, but I like the one called pause. The SpendGem sound is going to be the buy sell sound. Sounds like coins in a bag or something. And the FailGem sound is going to be the denied sound. And I think this was the same sound that it makes when we try to pick up a heart when we are at full health. Now, we also need the TextMeshPro object for the gems text. And so this is in our canvas that I had collapsed. It's the gem number. Drag that over into our gems text. And I think we're ready to test. So there's our slime character. There's a gem. We have 0 gems for now. Go over and touch it. And nothing happened. Okay, what was wrong? No errors. Oh, I think I know what's wrong. So in this gem, this ruby, it doesn't have a collider. So I'm going to add a box collider. And it perfectly fits our gem. That is because it already has a mesh. And when you add a box collider to something that has a mesh, it fits the collider to that mesh. Okay, now I think it's going to work. Okay, here we go. We've got our cute little slime. We have 0 gems, but there's a gem right there. We're going to go get it. Oh, we can't get it. It's solid. We can't pick it up. Okay, forgot one more thing I need to fix. The box collider needs to be a trigger. Now, hopefully, everything's ready and it will actually work. Okay, here we are. We're a cute little slime. We have 0 gems, and we're going to go get that one. Okay, it tried. You can see there's an error message. Let's see what that error message is about. Object reference is not set to an instance of an object, and it's particularly on TouchPickup line 47. So let's go look at our script. What did we do wrong on line 47, if anything? TouchPickup. Line 47 is player.getGems, and that means player is the null reference. And so what does player come from? The affected character.playerManager. So that means we need to make sure that the player manager for the character is set correctly. Okay, now I remember. So we have our player character over here. I did make a change to the character script, which I forgot to show you. So let's show you that now. The only change is there's a player manager, the public player manager, which is all the same thing, but there's capitalization difference. And it doesn't actually change the functionality of the script, but it's just a place to keep track of who the player that's associated with this character. To set that, we go to our player. We have a player manager slot. We need to drag our player manager from hierarchy into that slot. Now, was it third, fourth time's a charm? We'll see if it works. Okay, check out. We have a nice, cute little slime here. He or she has 0 gems, but there's a gem. He's going to get it right now. Hey, you got it. Did you hear the little sound it made? Sorry, it's already gone, so you can't hear it again. And also, as you can see, we have 1 gem in the corner. Okay, that's pretty much it. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this gem pickup, and it's called a Ruby pickup, but I'm going to delete this one. This is the one that I made before. I'm going to rename this one to gem pickup. See if I can make this a little bit shinier. Turn up the metallic. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to do a Control D, make a duplicate, and Alt Shift to drag the duplicate. We have to reposition it each time. Control D, Alt Shift. Okay, so we've got a bunch of coins. I'm going to make a duplicate of all of them. And the reason I'm making so many is because I want to see how it looks if I have double digits. So now we're going to hit play again, and we're going to pick up all of these gems. And you get to hear that gem sound multiple times. 5. Okay, where's our other one? Oh. Ooh, I need to pick up some hearts. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. We have 10 gems. And that is our lesson for today. To get one more heart. Oh, I need to get another one. There we go. Full health and 10 gems. Thank you for watching LewyT Amusement Academy. Come back down to my lab next time where we learn to create digital life. If you learned something down here, please like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends, frenemies, enemies, and even your nemesis. That's it for part 12. In part 13, we're going to start learning about NPCs, non-player characters. If we have time, we will add some of the following features to our game. Talk to an NPC, quests, items, and inventory. I don't expect to cover all that in one video, but we will see how it goes.